Welcome to the Leader Digital Podcast, the show where we explore innovation, operational excellence, and digital transformation in service. We bring you insights from the brightest minds in leadership, business strategy, service excellence, and innovation to help you stay ahead in an ever-evolving industry. Today on the podcast, we're thrilled to welcome Emilie Giraudet, the Vice President of Digital Program Management and Data Analytics at NS BlueScope. Emilie brings a wealth of experience in service transformation, having led initiatives that bridge technology and customer-centric strategies across diverse markets. At NS BlueScope, a producer of innovative, high-quality coated and painted steel products for the construction and manufacturing industries, Emilie spearheads digital programs that enhance service delivery and operational excellence. Her work focuses on integrating data analytics to drive informed decision-making and improve customer experience. Emilie's insights into aligning digital innovation with service excellence make her a standout leader in the industry. In this episode, we'll dive into innovating service through digital transformation, driving operational excellence at scale, and empowering people for exceptional experiences. Let's get started. Welcome, Emilie. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Catherine. My pleasure. Happy to be here today.
Great. So we'd like to start with a little sort of background on yourself. So can you give us an overview of your career journey?
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. So I actually have a food process engineering background. I had the chance to do 2 long internships in China and Canada while working for Sidel, so a leader in the food packaging sector. And it actually gave me a lot of interest and appetite for growing my career internationally, as well as working and contributing to large organizations. So when relocating back to France and completing my studies, I joined another leader in food processing, a company called GA, where I had the chance to work for about 12 years, growing from technical sales roles to more project management roles. And I actually dedicated 9 years of my career to driving service business, starting from defining strategies to managing technical teams, as well as contributing to business development. So that was a really, fascinating part of my career. While still working at GA, I decided to embark on an executive MBA program, and I graduated from INSEAD in 2018. It was really good for me to enhance my leadership knowledge about finance, and giving me more international exposure. I actually relocated to Singapore about 6 years ago, still with that ambition to work abroad and have this international career. So I was still working for GE at that time. About 4 years ago, I joined another organization in the steel manufacturing space with the ambition to drive the digital transformation. So I was quite fascinated about the evolution of technology and how technology can really impact organizations, both in terms of driving innovations as well as operational excellence. So this is where I am today and still contributing to the organization.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you've worked in so many different sort of places, like not just geographically but within businesses as well, so you must have seen lots of all sides of how to make a company successful.
Yeah, I mean, quite diverse environment, as you said, both in terms of business models, so working at the beginning more for OEMs, overall equipment manufacturer, now today working more in the commodity space, manufacturing business, and also across geographies. So the advantage is that you're being challenged a lot, but as you're being challenged, you really learn and get exposed to different business environments and situations. So really interesting.
So what have some challenges been that you've sort of had to overcome, and how have they sort of shaped your journey?
Yeah, so I actually ended up setting up businesses from scratch a few times in my career. So I don't know if that's a natural tendency or it just happened to be like that. So it happened to me actually quite early in my career for the first time, when my managing director at that time asked me to help him craft the service strategy for an entire business unit. At that time, I knew nothing about service. I hardly knew what a strategy was, and I was still in my early 20s. So it was quite, disruptive for me, but also very interesting to see how we can actually craft and shape a company once we have a proper vision. Very interesting to see how you can engage and get buy-in from various stakeholders and really, drive everybody towards the same direction and driving this change. So this really was a fundamental steps in my my career, and I've been repeating this many times. And today I think I have the right level of energy. I don't have fears anymore about driving change and really, trying to do business in different ways. So I think that was really key in my career.
Wow, that sounds like a great opportunity to be sort of thrown into the deep end and see if you can swim. And it sounds like you've learned to swim very well.
Yeah, kind of. But yeah, very interesting. So it's stimulating, I would say. Not easy, but very engaging.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So you've mentioned operational excellence. I'd like to sort of dig into operational excellence a bit and sort of ask you a couple of questions around that, if you don't mind. In your view, what are the sort of the key ingredients to driving operational excellence in today's digitally evolving world?
So I think that the first, crucial element is to understand why you want to drive operational excellence. So really being clear on your anchor, on your strategy, on your vision is fundamental. I've seen occasions when it was not so clear, and then the consequence is that you may lose some time, efforts in evolving in different direction, but not necessarily the right one. So really understand where you're heading to is super important. And then when we look at driving operational excellence, we see that we need to find a combination of different elements. So usually you need to look at your processes, your data, digital, as you've said, right? Key enabler, and most importantly, people. Okay, so every time we drive operational excellence programs, it's a unique opportunity to simplify, harmonize processes following best practices. Data is essential because many times we use technology, so having the right quality of the data, the right access to the data, proper governance is fundamental. Digital is everywhere, so there are tons of solutions available on the market, either to drive innovation for your clients or to improve your internal processes. What's more tricky technologies there available is to bring people on board. So convincing senior stakeholders as well as engaging, embarking people on the change is fundamental. So yeah, finding a good combination of all those elements to drive your transformation program is key. What is super important as well is the execution. So really making sure you have a right committee in place to make the decisions, make sure you invest on the right initiatives, having clear pipeline of initiatives, a good roadmap and good quality execution involving project management, change management is key. Measuring the impact as well, making sure that whatever you do is delivering results, delivering benefits to the organization. And then last but not least, driving continuous improvement.
Wow. I was going to say that sounds like that's a really comprehensive response there. That's, that's kind of like really given us a lot of insight there as to sort of how you develop that strategy. I think we're talking about innovation. How do you balance the kind of the push for innovation within operational efficiency and the cost management of that? So, it's nice to buy all the shiny new toys, but how do you sort of balance that?
Yeah, so, I've shared earlier that what's very important is to understand your strategy, why you want to make the change. So companies can follow different paths, actually, depending on their culture, depending on their objectives, on the competitive landscape, etc. So the three paths I've experienced the most and seen, one is to focus solely on innovation. Okay, so really because you may have a lot of demands from your clients, highly competitive landscape, so you really want to keep up with innovation and delivering value to your clients. The downside of doing this is that you may be a bit behind in terms of operational excellence, so it can come at a high cost, and you may have a lot of people fighting behind to deliver whatever is promised to the client. So that's one path. The second path, if you have maybe a bit less pressure from the competition, from your clients, is to focus on your operational efficiencies in order to reduce the cost, to increase your employee satisfactions, to improve your processes, service delivery, etc. Yeah, you reduce the cost. If you do that for too long, then you may be a bit behind and not keep up with innovation. So the alternative path is the one a bit in between when you do a bit of both. You alternate innovation for your clients and operational excellence. This, however, requires a lot of planning and selecting your pipeline of initiatives, because you can't put all your energy, all your money on everywhere. You might be too distracted. So it's super important really to find the right balance, keep on measuring the outcome, and yeah, keep moving and readjusting your roadmap on the way. But it really depends on the context, and companies may choose a different path or alternate the path. It's super important, and be willing to challenge it, right? So if after a while you see you need to change the path because the context have changed, I mean, don't be shy and just adjust the approach.
How do you align sort of cross-functional teams? So, you've got people from IT, operations, sales, customer service. How do you kind of bring them towards, to get that shared vision of the future and what good looks like, or excellence?
Yeah, so in principle, I mean, a company should have a clear strategy, and everybody in the organization should derive their objectives and ambitions toward this unique strategy. However, many a times companies don't have very clear strategies, or they're a bit too high level to be articulated and really properly understood by the different departments. I've been confronted to this situation. So the alternative is somehow to put all the stakeholders together and agree on metrics which we can measure and define. And then every time we have a business case to identify which initiative we want to drive first, we identify the impact on those different metrics, and we are able to compare apple to apple what benefits it's going to bring to the organization. And then when you put all those stakeholders in a committee, we can make, conscious decisions based on key success metrics for the organization. And it really helps aligning everybody and getting buy-in and having a smooth way of driving transformation in the organization. Yeah, exactly. And it's then tangible, right? So it's not favoritism or anything. It's really looking in a pragmatic manner how we contribute to the organization and better leverage the limited resources.
I just want to jump into digital transformation next. That's another thing that you mentioned. And it's a huge theme at the moment for so many organizations. But how do you approach it in sort of a traditional manufacturing context like steel production where you are at the moment?
So digital transformation, right? So yeah, we talked about different ways to look at things, right? Driving operational excellence versus driving innovation. So in the context of my current organization, we actually started more driving operational excellence because this is where the maturity was at that time. There was big appetite from different departments to improve how they operate, really streamline processes. So this is how we started investing in our foundations, being in terms of data platforms, core programs like ERP, CRM, etc., and covering a broad portfolio of initiatives across manufacturing, supply chain, HR, health and safety. And over time, as we gained in maturity, we started to look at opportunities to create more solutions for clients. So we dared to cross the border and really, work more closely with clients and see how we could develop more services for them, leveraging digital. You really need to work closely with the clients because you may end up, preparing a solution and which might not match their expectations at all. So you really need, as you said, to partner on this and really understand the goal where we want to go together and provide some iterative solutions.
Yeah. And what are the biggest challenges that you faced when sort of driving digital initially?
Well, it's not digital at all, actually. So the more I worked in digital, the more I realized it's not related to technology or data. It's related to people. So the first thing, as I've shared a lot, right, driving the strategy. So the strategy is coming from the top. So making sure you align all your senior stakeholders, making sure they understand the importance of digital, leveraging data for decision making, for improving the business is quite key. It's not that straightforward, actually, especially if you have very senior leaders. Then, when you implement solutions, not everybody is willing to accept it immediately. So working really with people, driving the change, communicating a lot, making sure they have proper awareness, that they understand the benefits is critical. So as I've said earlier, technology is there, but bringing people on board is way more difficult and is often neglected.
Yeah. You need everyone's buy-in to kind of accept the technology, to move with the change, to not resist it, and to make it successful.
Yeah, correct. And if this is not well managed, then the adoption might be very low, and then it ruins the entire effort of the digital program. So that it is that important.
Yeah. Wow. And have you got an example of how sort of digital tools or analytics have directly improved the service delivery at NS BlueScope?
So we have one example where we put a lot of efforts. So what we do at NS BlueScope is that we do the coating and painting of the coil we receive. So one initiative was related to our painting line, where originally the goal was not to improve the service delivery, but to improve the changeover. So every time we change color, for instance, lengths or widths or, I mean, the type of coils, we are wasting time and then we cannot produce at full capacity. So we started investing time into this advanced analytics program to design our internal solution. But as we were working on this solution, we identified some side benefits. One of them being to digitize the knowledge of our planners, which was in the planner's head but not documented anywhere. So finally it was, written, documented, automated, and actually it gave us more agility. So whenever now we receive last minute requests from clients, they want to change something, change their order, we can tweak our planning more effectively and faster. So it proved to be successful ultimately also in the services we are providing to clients.
Yeah, I mean that's to get all those years of knowledge and all that kind of innate knowledge in people's heads out and down is a massive achievement.
Yeah. I mean,
Definitely.
sometimes we don't realize how much is in people's mind and not documented, but it's quite risky for companies because if you lose your talents, then it might be difficult to maintain your operations.
Yeah, exactly. And just to finish off on digital transformation, if you could, I know you've talked a lot about strategy and various other things, but if there was one piece of advice you could give to sort of other leaders who are starting their digital transformation journey, what would it be?
Yeah, so strategy is one, clearly. Then I talked about people. So convincing senior leaders, bringing people on board, that's another one. What's very critical as well is to deliver some quick wins at the beginning to create the momentum, to have this, energy, bring everybody on board. Realizing the value, I think, is key as well. You may have the excitement at the beginning, but you really need to prove how successful you are, what transformation you're bringing. And don't be afraid of disruption, changing the ways we do things. So remove the fears, just move on and embrace the change.
Getting people on board.
Yeah, correct. It's very crucial. Yeah. Because then
Yeah.
it gives this energy to move on from one project to another and keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Because they can feel quite long. I've been in some transformation programs. So talking about people, as a leader, how do you create that kind of culture that embraces change, especially during, one of these large scale kind of transformations?
Yeah, so this is challenging, especially as you move from one project to another. So some people like me like change, but it's not the case of everybody. Okay, so it can be a bit overwhelming on top of your daily activities, daily work. On top of that, you need to contribute to those initiatives. So what's critical for me is, as I've shared earlier, change management, making sure people are aware about the change, that they have the desire to change, that they know how it's going to impact them, that they understand the benefit for them. This is critical. And if you manage to do it in a proper manner on a project, then that's a big win, because then people not only are successfully adopting the new technology or the new initiative you're bringing in, but then they are motivated for the future projects. If you fail in one project, then bringing back this energy and this appetite for change is way harder. So being disciplined in driving the change together with the people is super important.
Yeah, and keeping everyone engaged and kind of keeping a positive employee experience. What role do you think employee experience plays in achieving those better service outcomes?
It's critical, actually. So I've seen so many examples when projects were not successful. Okay, so either the applications were not user friendly, or there were some functionalities not working, or the integration was not properly done. And the impact on the morale of employees is actually super high because it's impacting them daily and they cannot effectively deliver on their tasks every day. So it's quite huge. And I think it's very important for leaders to understand that they need to tackle those challenges as early as possible and to fix it. Or else ultimately there is an impact on the quality of the service. Even if people are very professional, they want to do a good job and serve their employees, if daily they are confronted with those challenges, hurdles, it's very difficult to be, focusing on serving your clients.
Yeah. And talking about customer sort of client expectation, how do you think they've evolved over the years, especially in sort of B2B industries?
So it has evolved a lot. So I'm going to talk about some things which are impacting all companies. So sustainability is one. I think companies don't have a choice anymore, especially the large players. They all have sustainability programs, commitment to deliver things. So sustainability is one. The second thing is that we see more and more disruption, geopolitical tensions. COVID was another one. I think companies are becoming more and more responsive to those changes. They are becoming a bit more agile in handling this. Technology is helping. I've also had the chance to work in mature markets, now more working in developing markets. In terms of more specifically to service, I can see that even in emerging markets today, people are paying more and more attention to improving the performance of their installations. Still trying to fix the basics, but they are slowly evolving to more performance driven. And yeah, maybe one of the last thing is that there is a shortage of resources. So when we talk about service business, finding the right technicians can be tricky. Finding resources who are digitally savvy to embrace all the transformation we've been talking about is also a challenge. So I think companies have to deal with all those transformation in the workplace and equip and upskill their people so they can do better the jobs.
Yeah. And if you're thinking about sort of a customer first mindset, what does that look like for you at NS BlueScope?
So for us, we evolve in a very competitive landscape, actually, as many companies in this part of the world in Asia. So competition is quite tough, coming from local players, from China, from Korea, etc. So we compete on quality. So how we differentiate ourselves and how we try to bring better service to our industries by providing good quality and making sure that we are able to articulate to the different stakeholders along the value chain what our quality can bring to, their projects and their buildings. So really articulating and bringing these good qualities is crucial for us to stay competitive.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And now just looking sort of forward to the future. What trends do you see sort of shaping the future of service and operations over the next sort of 3 to 5 years? What do you think is coming?
Yeah, so I think servitization will continue. Myself embarked into service a bit by chance because service is growing, but I think it's still the trend. So companies are more and more selling services versus products. So that's still a trend. Digital, obviously, technology will not stop now. It's moving even faster, digital AI, Gen AI.
Yeah.
And we see that companies are adopting technology way faster. They don't wait for new things. ChatGPT is there. We all use ChatGPT. Okay, so technology is another one. I've shared earlier sustainability. It's not an option anymore. So all of us and all companies need to invest into that space.
Yeah. I think everything's just gathering so much pace at the moment. It feels like, just once you've got your head around one sort of area of technology, a new one pops up and it's just kind of like, kind of trying to keep up it's quite hard work.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. Can be overwhelming, but it's more and more easy, I think to use.
Yeah.
And the more we use it, the more, the less strange it is to us.
Yeah, exactly. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. But if you had a magic wand and you could instantly solve one challenge that you're currently facing, what would it be?
So it's not so much personal, it's a bit more global. But I think nowadays we are confronted to a lot of geopolitical tensions. We see more and more, authoritative governments. And this is actually impacting our economy and also, the rights we have. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I would like to solve, make sure that we could reverse the trend and have more peace in our world and more wise people governing our world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great one. I think we'd all be on board with that one. Thank you so much for your time, Emilie.
Thanks, Catherine.